Hey guys, well it is a beautiful day in the neighborhood. I thought I'd go out and do an out-of-breath arm sore Packer minute for you. The show where I walk around the neighborhood talking about the Packers and you watch to see if I get carried away into the afterlife by a firebird. So we've got a lot to talk about, guys. This matchup against the Atlanta Falcons is going to be huge for the Packers to some extent, and we heard TJ Lang mention it in the post-game sort of gather around session in the locker room after the win against the Cowboys. TJ Lang says, let's focus on getting one more and the rest will take care of itself. This Atlanta Falcons game is going to be a real challenge and a true test for a defense that once again took another hit with injuries. It's Wednesday today, so the injury report will be coming out. We'll have more of an idea on whether Morgan Burnett can play in this game. And here we go. Whether Morgan Burnett can play in this game. Ladarius Gunter got dinged up as well. I'm expecting him to be able to play. Morgan Burnett, on the other hand, had to leave the game against the Cowboys, and we definitely saw that it made a difference. Morgan Burnett's so integral, whatever way that's supposed to be said, to what the Packers defense is able to do. And of course, Hawkins and Bryce having to come in doesn't help the situation any, even though I thought that they played admirably being thrown into that situation. But yesterday I talked about the injury report, I think, and today and yesterday I compared a little bit of the Packers, the Packers' initial meeting in Week 8 against the Falcons and what went wrong, et cetera, et cetera. And today I took a look at the Falcons' divisional playoff game against the Seattle Seahawks. This was an interesting game for a lot of reasons. You know, in this game, you saw the Seahawks just get bested by an Atlanta offense that they just had no answer for. Julio Jones went into this game. He ended up being a little less effective later on. He had a touchdown early, but he has that toe that he's going to be on the injury list this week, but they're saying he's going to go, of course, but will it affect his performance? Julio Jones, 6'3", 220 pounds. The guy's just a beast, and he made Richard Sherman look like a fool, to be quite honest, out there for the most part. And then the only time Sherman seemed to get the best of him was really a drop by Julio Jones, one of his rare drops. But Julio Jones, of course, going to be big in this game. Later on, he wasn't as effective. But basically, this Atlanta Falcons team has so many weapons. Remember, Mohamed Sanu was the one that really tore us a new one. We did a decent job against Julio Jones in the first meeting, partly because he was dinged up again, but also, Gunter had one of his good days at that time. He was healthier. I don't expect that this time around necessarily. Some are saying we should swap Micah Hyde for him. I'm not really for that because I don't think Micah Hyde is going to have a lot more success than Ladarius Gunter would. And I think Ladarius Gunter's physical body, I think we really just are going to have to lean on him to do whatever he can. Because I think anybody we put on Julio Jones is going to have a long, long day against the Falcons. And then you add to that, like I said, Sanu. You've got, the two. You've got Tevin Coleman, Freeman out of the backfield. It's just and then the way Matt Ryan is playing the quarterback position is right up there with Aaron Rodgers. I think Aaron Rodgers gets the nod in this one too, but it certainly isn't by much. I want to mention a couple things that I noticed and a couple things in terms of some statistics that I think are important. Number one, Packers are not going to be able to rely on the blitz to get to Matt Ryan in this game. Matt Ryan has a 118 passer rating when teams blitz him. And to me, that kind of plays to the Packers because we are not a big blitzing team. That's not what we rely on for our defense. We're more of a, let's play nickel, let's try to keep things in front of us and try to play between the 20s and then play great red zone defense and perhaps get a takeaway. So I think that is an opportunity, although I don't see the Packers defense holding the Atlanta Falcons to less than 30 points by any stretch in this game. Really, just about any way that I do the math on this game, I don't see that happening. Clay Matthews is going to be back. That's huge. But let me tell you something that I noticed. One of the things, remember, week 6 of 2016, guys, the Seattle Seahawks beat the Atlanta Falcons. They beat them by 2 points. There was a kind of no-call pass interference at the end of the game on Richard Sherman. Should have been called, wasn't called. Who knows how the game would have ended if that was the case, if that was called. But here's the deal. The Seattle Seahawks in that game, this was a difference-making game. There were a couple of things I noticed. One was on defense, one was on offense. I want to talk about defense first. In the defensive side of the ball, one of the differences between the Week 6 matchup between the Seahawks and the Falcons and the divisional round playoff game, guys, is that the Seattle Seahawks in Week 6 were able to pressure Matt Ryan in his face up the middle. And they got to him from time to time. Now, they didn't get to him before he released the ball. Just about, that's a virtual impossibility the way Matt Ryan is playing football right now. However, they did get to him up the middle in his face enough to get him hit a couple times, and to get him to throw passes. You wouldn't call them errant throws, but you would just take enough of the accuracy away that on those long vertical routes, the accuracy is absolutely critical, and they were able to take a few passes away from Matt Ryan by getting pressure up the middle. Now, fast forward to this past Saturday in the divisional round. The Seahawks got zero pressure up the middle, none. They were able to get some pressure from the edges, off the edges, but when you try to get pressure off the edges, Matt Ryan eats you alive. He chewed them a new one, and it was all because they were trying to get the pressure from the edges, and you can't get there in time. You cannot get to Matt Ryan in time. He has too many weapons. The play calling is phenomenal on this team, and it just won't work. So what does that say? What should we be doing? Here's thing number one that this says to me. Mike Daniels is going to have a huge part to play in this game. If Mike Daniels can knife through and get a few hits on Ryan, get him rattled a little bit, or get in his face and make him throw a couple errant passes. Now, granted, I'm not saying you don't have to keep contained on Matt Ryan from the edges, okay? So keep that in mind. But if Mike Daniels can get there up the middle, knifing through, and if our inside linebackers, even, whether we blitz them, we've got so many weapons, or the Atlanta Falcons have so many offensive weapons, we've got to be very careful. But if the inside linebackers can get there as well, up the middle, and get in Matt Ryan's face, we've got a chance of rattling him. And this game is going to come down to that 1 or 2 defensive stands that becomes a field goal rather than a touchdown. It's going to be probably 3 times in this game that a team and offense has to kick a field goal rather than scores a touchdown. The team with 2 field goals probably loses because the other team probably gets that extra touchdown that only kicked the 1 field goal. And that's the kind of characterization I would give if I was going to try to figure out what this game was going to look like. The team that gets stopped and has to kick a field goal less is going to win. So that inside pressure is going to be absolutely critical. And you got Kenny Clark, you got LaTroy Guion. But one of the things, too, is I would love to see Clay Matthews back at inside linebacker. I've mentioned this in the live show, in the Good Packer Morning show last week for the Cowboys. And we saw it once or twice. But in this game, I am actually interested in the possibility of Julius Peppers crossing on a stunt. Matthews at inside linebacker, but Julius Peppers crossing inside on a stunt, getting in Matt Ryan's face, and with his length, even if he doesn't get there, the chance that he has of tipping the ball or just throwing the ball a hair off is all we need. We need that 2 or 3 times in this game, and that might just do the trick. So that inside pressure from the inside linebackers, and Jake Ryan has shown an ability to pass rush, so has Blake Martinez. He's got length too. Going to be critical on defense. Offensively, there's one thing that kind of jumped out at me, and the name is going to sound familiar. The initial meeting between the Seattle Seahawks and the Atlanta Falcons, where the Seahawks won, guess who had 2 touchdowns in that game? He's a name that might be familiar to Packer fans, Christine Michael. Now, to me, that doesn't necessarily say, I've been kind of high on Christine Michael to get in. He just has not showed that he can do it on a regular basis. And I think, frankly, the Packers are kind of off him. So I'm not saying that Christine Michael necessarily is going to go in, have 2 touchdowns. But look at Ty Montgomery. Had 2 touchdowns on the ground in Dallas, or in Arlington, against Dallas. So between the 3 of those guys, Ripkowski, Ty Montgomery, and maybe even Christine Michael, who already has familiarity, already has shown success, I think we can have some success running the ball. And time of possession is going to be so critical in this game. I think time of possession is going to be more critical than field position in this game. Generally speaking, I'm all about field position. And of course, on our offense, if we can have good field position, it helps us score. But I think field position, you looked at Matt Ryan against the Seattle Seahawks. Right after the Atlanta Falcons got the safety on Russell Wilson, the Seahawks, later on, I think it was the next series they had offensively, they had to punt it away. They punted it down to about the 6-inch line. The Atlanta Falcons standing with their heels on their own end zone. And they went coast to coast like nothing. So field position, I think, might help us take some time off the clock. But again, field position, as it applies to time of possession, is going to be important. But time of possession, to me, in this ball game is going to be all important. If we can handle time of possession by running the ball a little bit, extending drives when we're passing the ball, not necessarily going vertical so much, but just maintaining drives and having long extended drives, I think it bodes well for us. So those are a couple of things that I looked at. And, you know, this Seahawks team is a team that does not play well on the road. They went down to Atlanta. They got spanked by the Packers, and they got spanked by the Falcons. So I think the Falcons might be riding a false high right now after beating the Seahawks. I am not sure. One thing I do know, their offense is absolutely fantastic and loaded with weapons, but look at the Packers. They're pretty fantastic and pretty loaded with weapons too. Big question on Wednesday is going to be, number one, is Jordy Nelson going to have a shot to play? Absolutely outside chance at this point. But Devontae Adams also got dinged up in the game against the Cowboys. And David Bakhtiari, Brian Bulaga, how healthy are these guys going to be? I think that's going to be critical. One of the things you'll note, and I know you guys all know this, is, hey, guess what? You look at that divisional round playoff game, the Seattle Seahawks offensive line has been a thorn in the side of Russell Wilson and the Seattle offense all year long. And Russell Wilson and the Seattle offense do not have the same weapon set, or quarterback for that matter, that the Green Bay Packers do. Then add to that, the offensive line of the Green Bay Packers is not going to allow the Atlanta Falcons defense, Vic Beasley, etc., and all his company, and they're playing good defense. But the Packers' offensive line is going to be a different story, with or without, you know, maybe a starter that can't go. I hope they all can go. But we are going to be a different story altogether, and Aaron Rodgers is a different quarterback altogether. Russell Wilson had to rely on his legs in the divisional round game, and he made some mistakes. He moved well in the pocket, but there were times when he should have stepped out and escaped right, at least one play. Should have stepped out and escaped right. He rolled out left, far behind a pass rusher, and was unable to incomplete. He actually threw a good ball. It should have been caught, but he escaped to the wrong place, and that's not the characteristic of Aaron Rodgers. That is not something Aaron Rodgers does. It's not a mistake he generally makes. The only time you can bottle him up is if you absolutely close him in from all directions, front and center and both sides, left and right. Aaron Rodgers moves in the pocket better than anyone in the business, and including Matt Ryan. Aaron Rodgers has 4 touchdowns on the ground. Matt Ryan does not have a single one. So we have a big-time matchup coming up, but there are some advantages I think we can press, and hopefully the Packers can get a big win. Because frankly, it's time. It's win or go home from here on out. We've known that for a long time. It's been win or go home for 9 weeks for us. And the Packers, I think, are up to the challenge. It's going to be a difficult game. But hopefully the Packers can go in and steal one from Atlanta, guys, and move on. Super Bowl 51 in Houston. Boy, does that sound good. I think this may be the toughest test. This NFC side, the offense is so fantastic in the NFC side. I think this may be the toughest test of the year. And if the Packers can get through this test, I think they've really shown that they are one of the premier, well, obviously they're the best team in the NFC, but I think that they're going to truly challenge for another title. And that's what it's all about, guys. When you're a Packer fan, it's time to get the ring. But the road there goes through Atlanta. So there's some thoughts. I hope that sort of gives you something to chew on, something to think about. And I will catch you again next time around. Have a good day. Take a walk. Go Pack.